Did you know there's a course called Praying the News? I developed it just for you. This is very unique because as a former journalist, I understand how the news works, the mechanisms and the fake news and all of that. But I also understand how to pray. And the combination of my experience, I believe, brings you a very unique perspective on how to pray the news in a way that drives results. Check it out at schoolofthespirit.tv. Now let's get into today's podcast. The so-called Doomsday Clock has moved closer to midnight than ever before, just 89 seconds away. Scientists and world leaders are sounding the alarm, warning that humanity is edging toward catastrophe. But as prophetic people, we don't look at man's clock. We look to God's timeline. We're called to discern the times. We're called to pray. Indeed, we are in the end times, and we don't need a doomsday clock to see it. This is Jennifer LeClaire, and this is Praying the News. On today's broadcast, we're going to look at the latest update on the doomsday clock from a prophetic perspective. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Awakening Prayer Hubs. I'm raising up prayer warriors for revival and awakening in the nations of the earth. You can be a prayer hero in your city. Let me train you, push you in the context of community, and give you the prayer strategies. Find out more at awakeningprayerhubs.com/new. The Doomsday Clock was originally created to warn of nuclear disaster. But today, it reflects an even greater convergence of crises, nuclear threats, climate instability, biological dangers, and AI concerns. The world's brightest minds are awake at night, troubled by the existential threats. But we, as intercessors, know that there are spiritual forces at work behind these events. And the enemy is accelerating chaos and fear. We're not going to be afraid. We're going to pray. Paul the Apostle accurately prophesied nearly 2,000 years ago that in the last days, perilous times would come. Perilous times are here. This is not news to the believer who watches and prays. And remember, in his Olivet Discourse, Jesus pointed to the signs of the times. We read his words in Matthew 24, verses 4 through 8. He said, "Take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you're not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists has called for world leaders to step up and take action. They recognize time is running out. That's what they believe. Time is running out. But without Christ, human solutions will always fall short. Always. We need bold, God-fearing leadership to arise in this hour to navigate the times and seasons. We don't just need leaders. Hear me. We need God-fearing leaders who will hear and obey the Lord in this hour. The world is looking to the U.S. and China and Russia to pull the world back from the brink. But no man, no government, no alliance can save humanity apart from God's intervention. It's just not going to happen. Nevertheless, we do need to keep in mind 1 Timothy 2, verses 1 and 2, which tells us, "I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and those in authority, that we may live peaceable and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness." So we need to pray. There's Juan Manuel Santos. He's a Nobel laureate. He said, "Cada segundo cuenta." Every second counts. And that statement is true, but not just for the world politics. It's true for souls. The real ticking clock is the time left before Christ's return, his second coming. If the world is in a time of quote-unquote profound instability, we need a profound spiritual awakening. The 2025 Doomsday Clock statement warns, despite unmistakable signs of danger, national leaders and their societies have failed to do what is needed to change course. And that's true not just in the natural, but also in the spirit. We need church leaders, Christian leaders to rise up also and do what is needed to change course. The world is ripe for judgment, but it's also ripe for revival. We're standing at a tipping point. Will the church rise up in prayer? Will we press in for a great awakening before the final hour? I believe that we will. But some of us, we need to shake off the lukewarmness, the complacency, stop throwing up our hands and saying there's nothing we can do. We can do something. We must do something. It's time to heed the words in Joel 2:15 and 17, which tell us, blow the trumpet in Zion, declare a holy fast, call the sacred assembly, let the priests who minister before the Lord weep between the porch and the altar. Let them say, spare your people, Lord. We need to cry out. We're not on man's timeline. We are not on man's timeline. We are on God's timeline. And the world is crying out for solutions. But the only true answer is Jesus Christ. If ever there was a time to pray without ceasing, that time is now. The enemy is seeking to accelerate the destruction, but we declare that God's purposes shall prevail. We must be watchful, we must be discerning, and we must be bold in our faith. The nations are shaking, but we're not called to fear. We are called to war. So keep pressing, keep interceding, keep declaring God's kingdom come, His will be done, and pray. You'll find a lot of prayers over there on my website where I've posted the transcript of this podcast. You can pray along with me and join us. Well, my website's jenniferleclaire.org. Join us. Join us at Awakening Prayer Hubs. We're in about 105 nations. We're looking to plant prayer hubs in cities all around the world. Join us. Launch a hub. Find a hub. Sponsor a hub. We have people in third world nations waiting for a sponsor. You can be a prayer hero. Find out more at awakeningprayerhubs.com/new. Until next time, keep watching and keep praying the news.